Okay, we're going to work on basic photo correction, or what I like to call the 5 general steps of photo correction. Notice the picture on the left, over here where my mouse dances. This picture is dark, it's dreary, it's crooked. The picture on the right is bright, it's got contrast. Oh yeah, and did I mention it's straight? So we're going to learn how to turn the one on the left to look like the one on the right in some basic steps. It's always important to just check your image size on your image. So we'll go where it says image, we'll go image size, and we'll become aware that our image is 2.425 inches by 3.265 inches with a resolution of 200. It's good to know that because you never want to print an image lower than 300. Okay, we're going to go over to the crop tool. This will be our step one. And we're going to select the crop tool. It's the one in the tools that has the letter C. The crop tool appears, third one down on the left of the toolbar. We come over and we grab it and make a square. Notice if I put my mouse in the middle, I can move it. If I go to the outer edge, I get a double-headed arrow. I go in and out. And if I go just outside the edge, I can rotate it. What I want to do is I want to rotate this so I get a nice square edge here, nice straight parallel. Then I'll be able, because the corners are perpendicular, we're going to be able to get the entire image in one nice clean selection. And you don't want any of the white stuff, anything, the gray area. You want to get the entire image. Double click and there we go, a nice, wonderful selection. The next thing we want to do after we do the cropping of the image, we want to adjust the overall contrast of the image. So we're going to go up to where it says image up on top and it says adjust. Then we're going to go over to the right of that and we're going to go over where it says brightness contrast. And this is going to be a visual exercise. We're going to be looking at how we're going to make it brighter so we can increase the brightness, at the same time increase the contrast. We don't want to go too far in one direction. Obviously, if you do that, it's no good. So we want to use our eyes to study it. Now this looks a lot better than it did just a few seconds ago. You see the dullness there when I shut off the preview button and with the preview? We see it's really nice, bright, and tight. So I'm going to hit OK to that. Simple. We're moving on to the third. Alrighty, this is the third part of photo correction. And we have the image. We've already cropped the image. Then we've also taken and we've adjusted the brightness and contrast. And now we're going to address what I would call a color cast. That's when a particular hue seems to cover the entire image. This image tends to be very cool. It has a cool color cast upon it. So what we want to do now is we want to address that and warm that image up. So to adjust the color cast, we're going to go up to the top over to where it says image. Then we're going to scroll down to where it says color balance. You could also use the key command, which is Command B. And then when that happens, you'll notice we get this little pop-up window, and it's the color balance window. Since we know that this hue is a cool hue, think along the lines of blue or blue-violet, let's look at the picture and try to see what we want to determine. If we look at the final picture here, we kind of sense that yellow. When we look here, we see it's kind of violety. We look at this green as blue. But let's focus on these yellows. Let's try to bring those yellows close to each other because we're going to go later and make changes to the blue rock up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of warm colors because I think it has a cool cast. So I'll increase a little bit of the red. Maybe not too much. I never do anything too fast. I can always increase. Add a little bit of the magenta. And then I think I'm going to need more yellow because of the way the yellow appears there. So I'm looking through and I want to see what I like. I think about there, but let's bring some of these numbers down a little closer. Let's see. These colors start to look like they're matching. These yellows seem to be working. They don't have enough contrast yet, but we're going to get to that point. But I think the colors are matching pretty close. Maybe I'd bring this down maybe to a 1. Let's see. Yeah, maybe a 1. I wouldn't go real high with that. Nope, a 1 plus 1. And I think that would be good, and I would hit OK. So that's how we would address a color balance. We'll go on to step 4 next. Okay, so the fourth part of this is going to be to work on colors in individual parts of the picture. Now you might notice we're already looking very similar, but we've still got a lot of work to do. So we're going to work on the top here above the window frame where you see this blue area. We're going to select that area so we can affect it only and change it so it looks more like this green hue, this aqua green hue on the other side. So I'm going to use my quick select tool, which is just a wonderful tool for selecting, and I'll run it through the blue area. You'll notice how it's very intuitive. Once that's selected, I'm going to take and use my go to Image, Adjustments, and I'm going to go to Hue and Saturation. And I'm going to bring this over so I can look at here in the center. And I want to try to match my color on the left to the color on the right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try going in one direction. I see what starts to happen. Go in the other direction. I notice I start going toward the green hues that I'm looking for. Now that's very green. That's more like a blue-green, closer to what we have. But the color's a little too bright. So we need to take the saturation and bring it down a little bit. How's that working out? That looks pretty good. And maybe even a little bit of the lightness and darkness. Bring that down. Maybe bring the saturation. No, that was good where I had it. So we'll bring it down a little bit. And I think the color's pretty close to what it should be, the way they're matching. So I changed the hue, I changed the saturation, and I affected the lightness. We made it a little bit darker, a little duller, and we shifted over a little greener. So once you do that, you can hit OK. So that's one part that I've affected. I'm going to hit deselect, Command D, and now I'm going to look at the curtains. You see how the curtains here have some nice bright spots, and over here on the left they're just kind of dreary. So I'm going to punch that up a little bit. I'm going to use the dodge tool, and I want the dodge tool, make sure that the tool is set to soft. So here my hardness is 0, and the diameter is accommodating to the space where I need to be in. So here I'm going to just take and quickly just kind of dodge this a little bit, but I'm not going to go nuts. Tap it in a few spots, kind of lighten it, but without making it like look overdone. Just kind of lighten little highlights, some highlights here, just so we get some contrast. Popping them up so that it looks like somebody cleans their curtains. And that's pretty much enough there. And then what I'll do is, now the next part I want to address is these flowers. You notice they don't look bright enough. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go to the sponge tool. And the sponge tool can either saturate or desaturate. Saturate means it's going to make the color brighter. And up above you can see in the options mode, we can desaturate, makes the color duller, or we can saturate, makes the color brighter. So I'm going to go over, it's a nice size brush again, it should be soft, and check your diameter. And now I'm going to start putting the color on the flowers here, and just not overdoing it. Again, you do overdo anything in Photoshop, you're going to have some regrets. But I'm going to kind of tap here and just make some bright areas up, decide what I want to put focus on, maybe here. And now I've really impacted the piece. So that would be the end of step 5. And we'll go on to step 4. And we'll go on to step 5 in just one moment. Okay, the last and final step, the 5th step, is going to be to take the image and to sharpen everything inside of the image. Just really tighten it up. You can see the difference here on the right picture on the right side, the finished one. You notice that one has very tight design and where the patterns are of the curtain. And we can just see the difference between the two images. So here to make an adjustment, we're going to go up to the top to where it says Filter. Then you're going to scroll down to where you see the word Sharpen. You're going to go over to the right and you're going to hit Unsharp Mask. When you do that, you're going to get this little dialog box that pops up. And you notice you have a preview. And look, if I click the preview, I already see now it's a little much, I think. So we're going to have to make determination. Remember I told you I like to start everything kind of low. So I'll bring everything down and I'll work it up a little bit at a time. See if I like it better. Now here's a preview. The better? Yeah, it's a little bit better. Let's increase that amount. Let's see. Still a little bit better. That's probably enough. But let me look. Let me bring this one back down a bit. Let's look before and after. That seems to work quite nicely. I really don't want to sharpen it more than that. And look, I'll give you the reason why. it'll get ugly and pixelated. So right about here, it seems to work very nice. I think I get a nice adjustment. That's before, that's after. I'm going to hit OK, and that completes the piece. The piece is now photo corrected, and you'd be much more pleased with the piece you started out with than what you had earlier. So here's what you started with. Wow. And here's what you end with. Awesome. Alrighty, that's the end of this video lesson.